loose, and I was controlling the car. And at that lap, I went wide to pass Jimmy, and with the rear wings, I tried to control it, but I couldn't stay off the wall.
A tough break for Alex Zanardi, Gary Gerald.
Here's another tough break, Gilles de Ferran, and we were trying to get word to the booth that yes, we knew he had damage to the rear. They pulled out the spare, but Jim Hall said, I don't know if we're going to have to change it. We may just get another end plate or side plate. Now they're going to take him off the jack, send him back out, and I suspect we may see him back here as they'll make a decision. Jim, can you tell us what you're going to do here?
Yeah, it just looks like it only tore the end plate off the wing. Everything looks sound back there. I think we're okay, but it probably would have to see how we get the balance of the car. We had to make an adjustment.
How tough is that without an end plate on the rear wing? How tough will it be for handling?
Well, it'll just reduce the rear downforce a little. As long as we balance it out, it'll probably be okay, but we had to guess on the balance.
Thanks a lot.
Here's the accident again. You can see the debris was the key factor here.
Right there, look at that tire go up in the air right here. That tire is going to move up, goes up in the air. Oh, that's lucky, and catches his rear, looked like the rear tire as well, and the rear end plate, and just takes it off.
De Ferran locks the brakes up, as you can see from that right rear, but he doesn't want to hit him too hard. He doesn't want to get into the wall himself. Ribeiro wisely moved way down. We'll look from Ribeiro's point of view, Danny.
Yeah, he's going up there. He's following him. He knows he's in trouble. You see Marty start to move down, touches. There's Zanardi touches it, and you see him pulling the car back down. He wants to get away from that debris or possibly that car turning left. Keeps on the throttle and gets through.
And I'm not so sure that there may not be some other issues with the De Ferran car other than the side plate on the left rear of the rear wing of the car. The front wings look like they may not be. They're supposed to droop down a bit, but I wonder if they're exactly right. We'll check.
It's a simple concept. The bigger the...
Just like the old westerns, the Cowboys and Indians are headed south of the border. NFL preseason football goes prime time as the world champion Dallas Cowboys meet the Kansas City Chiefs in Monterrey, Mexico. That's next Monday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, right here on ABC Sports. Well, we're ready to go back. Green flag once again at Michigan International as you ride on Jimmy Vasser's shoulder. And here is what brought the yellow out for this session. Alex Zanardi in the lead, losing it up into the wall. His tire taking out first the yellow lights, bouncing off the track, nicking the edge of Gilles de Ferran's rear wing. That giving the lead under yellow to Andrew Ribeiro, and Zanardi had led 394 of the 930 laps this season to that point. And we're ready again. As we are beyond the halfway point, should it rain, it's an official race, and Gilles de Ferran tries to work Ribeiro for the lead.
Of course, Gilles de Ferran has a really tough job right now. He wants to get back up into that lead, doesn't want to lose ground, but he's not sure how the car is going to handle. Because when you take that little end plate off the left side of the wing, it spills some more air out, reduces your amount of downforce at the back of the car, and he doesn't know exactly what that balance is going to be like, so he's feeling it out. See how it's missing on that right, over that right rear tire as you look at it, right rear. It's the left rear. The end plate, which is a small square piece, is missing.
Robbie Gordon's right behind de Ferran. The Valvoline car, he's been struggling, that red, white, and blue machine, and sits in 13th place off of the leader lap. Ribeiro led 68 laps last year in the Michigan 500, was sidelined finally with electrical failures. Scott Pruitt now closing up behind Robbie Gordon. As Al Unser Jr., boy, look at that. 4 wide, one of them a slower car, but nonetheless. That's Fernandez, Salazar, Gugelmin. Whoa. And you know what? It wasn't even for position. Gugelmin and Fernandez were, but the other two were just trying to get a good view. Ryan Herta in there. Salazar.
That looks like Mauricio's teammate right there behind, trying to close up, Mark Blundell.
Brian Herta, the white, yellow, and black car, 7th place right now. They all clear Eliseo Salazar. There's Eliseo coming ahead forward now. There's Scott Pruitt. Pruitt working on DeFerrin, and Pruitt to 2nd place. And here comes Fernandez challenging Unser Jr. So that quickly up at the front. The position swapped again. Doesn't affect the lead of the race, but Scott Pruitt comes by in 2nd place. DeFerrin is 3rd, then Fernandez, then Unser Jr. That's the top 5. ...141 laps complete. 109 to go. Ribeiro now is pulling away from 2nd place. But here comes Fernandez to work on DeFerrin for 3rd. Now it seems that Fernandez can put the car about anywhere he wants. You can see the track of Joe DeFerrin as he falls a bit backwards from the leader in the last laps. And here comes Fernandez, takes the position, moves into 3rd.
Well, of course, we saw Fernandez earlier. He had that little spin, then he dropped back. I think he got back as far as about 12th spot, but he's working his way back up, and he's obviously been hooked up most of the day. And, of course, being in the same team with Ribeiro, these guys have probably got a pretty similar setup.
It's interesting that in the top 3, the leader of the race had his problem having to make an extra stop, and then Fernandez had that problem in the pits, and yet here they are at the front.
Paul, I really believe that that's the nature of most 500-mile races. You just got to be managing your problems all day long. You'll get a set of tires that's not as good as the other. You get a traffic problem, get little things going wrong. You just got to stay right there on the leaderboard, similar to what we're seeing from Al Unser Jr., who's not really been at the front that much, but he's right there in that lead pack.
And, you know, that's when he's most dangerous, is when he's just hanging with you. Because there's a guy that knows this track perfectly. They do a lot of testing here. That makes sense. Roger Penske owns the Speedway, owns the team. Is that what you were doing in '85? That was just managing down there in the South Chute at Indy?
Well, it was a little bit different. But see, don't forget, we've still got over 100 laps to go in this race. There's still a whole lot of racing going on. That's 200 miles.
Joe DeFerrin was up toward the front, now is beginning to fall backwards, Gary.
Paul, down here in the pits, they've taken the spare wing, and you can see this, they've removed the side or end plate from the rear wing spare. They have it. This is the configuration he's running on the track now. Now, if we come up here, you can see this spare end plate. This is the size of what we're talking about that is missing, that is impacting the balance on the car. I just talked with Jim Hall. He says the car is pushing more than we would hope, but we're going to have to leave him out there until we can come in and make an adjustment. They don't intend to put this side plate on. They think that they can still run without it, but they've got more than a push, and compounding the problem is when that debris came back, it took out his left side mirror, so he's having a very difficult time charting traffic, so they're trying to help him on the radio in that respect.
Fernandez made a move for second on Pruitt, didn't get it done.
I'm telling you that one of his biggest problems is the left side mirror, because with the wall on the right side, almost all your traffic is on the left side, so he has to really be alert the rest of this time. Now, the one thing that surprises me, if he took that end plate out and it reduces the amount of downforce, why has he got so much push? Because that's usually an increase in downforce on the rear plows the front of the car.
I can't explain it. I was sitting here thinking, I was wondering what the effect of taking the end plate off the wing. I mean, it's not a decorative item. It helps dam the air and put it cleanly over and under the wing.
It holds the air in, right, so it travels out and sucks it underneath the wing and pulls it out. If you don't have that end plate on, it just kind of spills off the wing and falls out underneath it.
Now Al Unser Jr. under attack by Bryan Herta. Herta, the black and white car, some yellow trim on it. Unser Jr., the red and white car, at the left of the screen. The fight is for fifth. Mauricio Gugelmin, who is part of this argument, sits just behind them, Gary Gerould.
Jim Hall watching down here, and I'm not sure if we can get a word with him or not, Paul. He's been in conference with the engineers on his team, with the Renard design engineers of the chassis, and they're contemplating the changes that they may have to make a bit later on. Jim, tell us now what he's telling you and your concerns and how this car handles.
Well, it's not quite right. It's okay, but it's not quite right. The fine-tuning of these cars is pretty delicate, and we made an adjustment to try to compensate for the missing part of the rear wing, and we missed it just a little bit. But he's all right. He's out there running, and we got a couple of more stops. We'll readjust it before the end of the race, and I think we'll get it right back. Now,
when you're talking about an adjustment, you talk about a front wing adjustment that alters the weight on each corner of the car?
Yeah, I'm talking about a front wing adjustment.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Interesting process going on down here for Gilles de Ferran.
Interesting process going on the race cars as we've been watching the battle between Herta, Unser Jr. and Gugelmin. And Gugelmin made the most of it a minute ago and continues to work it as he came out, put the car way low, came around. They were 3 wide at one point. Now he's working on Al Unser Jr. And this is for 5th place.
And Al Jr. is not giving up that spot easily.
Skies overhead, by the way, have cleared a little bit. Not to say the clouds have gone away, but it's a bit brighter. Ribeiro was under attack for just a second there by Fernandez, but then Fernandez lost momentum and had to fall backwards. And Bryan Herta, who was in the middle of this fight when he lost momentum, both Gugelmin and Blundell were able to get around him, pushing him back to 8th. Now here comes Gugelmin big time, takes advantage of the slower traffic ahead. Al Unser Jr. gets bottled up, and Gugelmin moves forward. At the same time, here comes Blundell moving inside of Unser Jr. And Blundell comes past.
It looks like he took advantage of that too. It looks like Al Jr. had to lift a little bit because of that slower car up in front of him, and everybody got a run on it.
I don't know. That's not like Al to get caught like that, because here comes Herta. I'd have to say that we've got something more to do with a mechanical issue on little Al's car than the slower car that was blocking for him. I wasn't blocking, but was certainly positioned ahead of little Al for a moment. Last lap 2:19 compared to the 2:28, which was his fastest. So Al Unser Jr. is obviously suffering from some problem here, as Gugelmin, Blundell, and Herta all come around him. Stefan Johansson is now lining up behind Unser Jr. in 9th place. Good run for Stefan. Christian Fittipaldi is 10th. Jack Arute?
Well, Gilles de Ferran may be running without a mirror, but he does get some assistance, because this year, up on top of the grandstands and at every IndyCar race, they can utilize spotters. That spotter can help de Ferran working the traffic. Tell him when he's clear or when traffic's coming up.
And if they got a good play-by-play up there, they can probably talk him all the way around the circuit. Gary Gerould?
Checking on the situation with Al Unser Jr., talking with members of the team. He has a push condition, tough to turn in the corner. It is complicated, we understand, when he gets in heavy traffic, and that's what he has been battling. And of course, you're kind of at the mercy, I guess, in that situation. You can't make an adjustment to the car without making a pit stop. So he's trying to fight through it until his next stop.
I'd say it's a serious problem. 19th place Parker Johnstone just moved inside and around Unser Jr. So while it's not a pass for position, it was costly. This is, of course, on board Stefan Johansson as you look forward to Little Al. So the leader is still Ribeiro. We'll be back after these messages and a word from our ABC stations.
They've trained. ABC Sports coverage of the Michigan 500. Brought to you by Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug. The all-new Ford F-150. Strength after strength after strength. Restore manufactures